Brodes Media.
Hey guys, what's going on? So this episode's a little bit different. I went live on Bleacher Report as soon as the third preseason game was over to touch on a few things that I saw during the game and then some big picture Eagle stuff as well. I was able to take that show and repurpose it here on YouTube. I want you guys to check it out. And of course, if you want to head on over to Bleacher Report and see some other content, you absolutely can do that too. Love you guys. Enjoy the show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into the post-game show. Eagles preseason game 3. It's over. Hallelujah. The next time we see this team compete legitimately, it's going to be the real deal. We're talking the New England Patriots, and it's going to actually matter. I can't believe I'm watching Ian Book down the football for a last final shot at the end zone. Please, I beg of you, we need this to end, all right? It's past 11 o'clock. I got things to do. My eyes were bleeding a little bit. There were a few things from some bubble guys that we were watching, but that's about it, and that's really what's to be expected for this final game. You know, not much of Marcus Mariota, more McKee than I anticipated. Quite honestly, I thought it would be running more with Ian Book than anything else, but this is what we were handed, and ultimately, here are some things that were terrible. First, let's start with Richardson. What is Richardson doing in a preseason game thinking that he could go mock the crowd? And then, by the way, follow that up with arguably the worst performance I've seen against third-teamers. I'm just saying, man, you're going all out thinking it's all cool and cute to make fun of Eagles fans. You better watch yourself, dude, all right? Because it's going to be a different beast when the real team's out there, and you are just waiting for the real pain to start coming. Because once we get Jalen Hurts and the rest of the crew out there and you get a packed link, you're going to see what it's really like. So just stupid and very naive of him to make that decision. I got to give a lot of praise to Eagles fans, and here's why. I've been doing this for about 6 years now. We have finally hit the point of preseason football where we are no longer arguing, does it matter if our starting quarterback takes one drive or not in useless games? I didn't hear it once. There was no internal debate. We realize Howie Roseman gives him a fat bag. He gets a ton of cash, and we get to kick back, relax, and wait for regular season ball. It doesn't matter. It's not worth it. Let's not try and risk anything for what? 5 passes for 6 passes? Is that truly going to benefit you when you weigh out the risks compared to the rewards? Let me tell you something. Jalen Hurts will be ready. And you know what? If it takes a series or two to knock off the rust, and by the way, you know how much he prepares and you know how hardwired he is, and he's always fully in the books and he's completely ready and prepared as much as any human being can be. I'm not hitting no panic button. I just want to give a standing ovation and a round of applause to every person in Philadelphia, because I swear to God, I did not hear it one time this season. Not one time this season. And that is extremely, this offseason, I guess you'd say, or this camp, this preseason, I didn't hear it once. So I'm very proud and I'm very pumped for that aspect of it. So let's get to some of the bubble guys and what we witnessed today. Okay? Nagata, I think him fumbling and him dropping a ball, ooh, that's a little rough. I don't know if you're going to have the buzz anymore that you once had generated prior to the preseason kicking off. It was a poor display from him. Kennedy Brooks, dude, you have a wide open touchdown. You have the ball right there. It is completely wide open. I don't know if he was a little lost because you're not accustomed to having that much space. When you see that much green, your eyes light up and you overthink in the quick seconds that you have. I don't know, but man, when the ball is right there, you got to do something with it. It is a very packed running back room to start. So it's not as if he really had a shot at it. But at the same time, and Nick Sirianni stressed this during one of his interviews, it doesn't matter if you don't make this team. You have to show everybody, every other team, every other person who's watching tape and watching guys that are going to get cut, that you can play and show your worth. You can't miss a touchdown, dude. Sermon got every single touch, it felt like. Mariota gets one drive, and Sermon just plugging away nonstop. I felt bad for the dude. First off, you got to play behind that offensive line. You don't get the real meat and potatoes. You're not getting the luxury of competing behind a Jason Kelce, a Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson, the best right tackle in all of football. A beauty in Jordan Mailata. Landon Dickerson is crazy good. You don't even get the luxury of that, and you're plowing away trying to save your life here with a bunch of nobodies. And, you know, he did make a few catches, though, and that's nice for whatever it's worth. You're good, though. You're good in that department in the running back room. And that brings up a big storyline that was on full display this week. It was being reported that Howie Roseman is showing a ton of interest in Jonathan Taylor. I'm not buying it for 1 second. Now, Howie Roseman is Howie Roseman, and he knows how to get fancy, and he knows how to fleece, especially in Indianapolis. He knows what he's doing. So you look at their GM, you look at the history, you look at the Carson Wentz trade, you know that there's some form of relationship there. But why is Jonathan Taylor unwilling to play in Indianapolis? He wants to get paid. He wants a lot of money. He wants to get set up for the future. The Eagles don't do that. They just let Miles Sanders go because they do not look at that as a good way to spend their money. It's about maximizing your assets. It's about looking at your roster, looking at the money, seeing the way that you're utilizing it. That's not smart. Bad teams spend a lot of money on their running back position. It's not worth it. So it doesn't make sense for Jonathan Taylor to come here all of a sudden and be willing to play without the contract. So I don't buy it. And what I think is happening, knowing that Howie Roseman likes to utilize the media for his advantage and to his advantage, I think he's helping somebody else out. Meaning, if a team hears that Howie's on the prowl, then maybe someone picks up the phone quicker and is more willing to send some assets because they are afraid that the Eagles might pounce. Now, maybe they're not brainwashed, and they also recognize the same exact thing that I just laid out. They know Philadelphia doesn't use money in that area. They know that you have Penny, you have Swift, you have Gainwell, you have Boston Scott. There's so many different backs in there. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't bring him in if he was willing to to play without getting a new deal, or of course, or if he's willing to figure it out, Howie Roseman manipulate stuff, this and that and that. Okay, I just don't see it. I don't think that that's the area that they're looking to bolster up when you study the entire roster. I'm still confused on where they're at with safety. Kayvon Wallace is busting his ass out here in the final last seconds of a fourth quarter preseason game 3 game, which is just bonkers. Good for Reed Blankenship. He's secure. I didn't see Evans, and I didn't see Edmonds. So what does that do for the safety room currently? I do visualize Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship full speed downhill. Now, Sidney Brown made a play at the goal line there. I just love his attitude. I love his mental switch. I love the fact that he wants to go out there and cream everybody. I'm a little surprised that there wasn't any hostility involved because of what happened at the joint practices this week, where there was a ton of scuffles. There was a big fight. They got into it. It lasted a decent amount. It was pretty strong. It was nice. It was a good training camp level of pushing and shoving. Jason Kelce's aggravated with himself and thought that maybe he should have handled things differently. This stuff happens, right? It is what it is. I like the fire. I like that attitude. I like the fact that a team like Philadelphia, where you know that the binoculars are on you, they're in the crosshairs in regards to we want to get to that team. Anyone in the NFC knows that they need to go through Jalen Hurts and this defensive line, Hassan Reddick, adding Jalen Carter. We've already seen what Nolan Smith is able to do with his shoulders and getting around offensive linemen. The kid's going to be crazy good. And it's funny, right? Because in the last preseason game, we were all enamored with his skill set. And then afterwards, he kept saying, well, I was close, but my job isn't to get close. My job is to finish the job. My job is to get to the quarterback. My job is to force a team to turn the ball over and then give our offense a chance to work, to give them an opportunity. That's what it's all about, man. That shows you the difference in the way that some of these cats are wired. And that's why the makeup of this group is what they are. It really stems from, one, Nick Sirianni, because throughout all the goofiness, there is legitimacy in there, and he does hold you accountable, and he is fiery. He's in your face nonstop, and I do love that. But it's Jalen Hurts. It's that perfect yin and yang. One guy's nuts and losing his brains and going crazy, sort of like I do, and Nick Sirianni. And then you got the poise, the cool, calm customer, and Jalen is it's very contagious. He's just a very contagious personality. Now, looking at some other things that happened in this game, here's a positive. I thought Devin Allen had a great punt return in the beginning. Now, he did initially drop the football, but he ran it back for a nice return. And then on a punt, he was flying downfield and made a spectacular tackle. Some special team stuff. And monitoring the current special team situation, we need guys to flourish. You lost two. You lost yourself Zach McPherson, and also it was Sean Bradley. So two guys, we saw a ton of injuries happen about a week ago or so. Someone needs to start generating some noise, and we know the special teams core has to take a massive jump. And I'm going to hold you accountable, Michael Clay. You get a pay raise as a special teams coach after you put on that ugly performance last year. You get yourself a pay raise. I'm going to hold you accountable and make sure that this team takes strides. Looking at special teams, Jake Elliott now the deep one. We need those 3 points. We need those field goals made, all right? Remember the Super Bowl run. What happened? New York Giants game. Here comes Jake Elliott. Bang, bang. It's a deep one. So the fact that he seems to be in a groove, that's important to me. But good for Devin Allen. We have Tyreek Maddox-Williams with a interception, which I think he definitely got his name highlighted there towards the end. And then a tackling machine in Van Sumeren, undrafted player out of Michigan State, flying all over the place, making tackles left and right. But this is sort of your bubble guys. I think really there's a lot of nice players that can be late on a roster or the last few guys on certain rosters. It seems the Eagles have a bunch of them, and some of them are going to get cut, unfortunately. It's just a stacked organization right now. It's a stacked room. They got some guys that might not make it here, but can have some sort of potential, even if it's a tinier chance, a chance in another organization, just because not as many franchises have the crazy depth that this team has. There's a few spots and a few positions that aren't like the rest. I don't know what's going on at linebacker. You get Miles Jack, and then he ends up retiring not too long ago. And I think what happened is he spoke to the media, made it very clear. I was away from football for a while. I thought I was going to be doing something else. And then with the snap of my fingers, here I am in a training camp with the team that's competing to go win a Super Bowl. It's just a big change for me. And then he saw what was going on in the preseason. He probably realized where he was in the battle and then put his hands up and claimed that, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. So you go with Cunningham. And Cunningham has had his fingertips all over the ball, which then led to a Reed Blankenship interception. The reason that's important is because we know the bread and butter and the DNA of Eagles football under Nick Sirianni. They want to limit all explosive plays, and they also want to have explosive plays of their own, and they want to limit turnovers, and they want to create turnovers. If Cunningham is getting his hands up and he's in the middle of the field playing linebacker next to Nakobe Dean, there's something to that, and I thought that gave him the edge. But with Miles Jack retiring, what else is there? And are those your two guys? None of those two played today. None of those two played today. Mariota, as I mentioned, got the one drive, which brings us to our poll question here in the chat. and I appreciate everybody who's tuning in here on Bleacher Report. Thank you so much. I asked the question, do you have faith in Marcus Mariota to win 1 or 2 games if needed? I love Jalen Hurts. I'm a big-time Jalen Hurts supporter. I think the kid is special. I really do. The one thing I'm going to note, and it's not his fault. I'm not blaming his playing style. I'm not one of those that claim that it's bad to have a mobile quarterback and it puts you in a position to get hit a lot, blah, 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 blah. No, not me. You know what? Running the football like Jalen Hurts does, it gets you to a Super Bowl. It gives you a lead at half in the Super Bowl. That's what it does. I want him to continue being strong. I want to note, though, that the last 2 years, he played 15 games. He played 15 games in 2021. He played 15 games in 2022. I want to try, and not that it's easy, and he's not doing anything wrong. I'm just noting, and the reason I bring that up is your backup quarterback, if he plays 15, might have to play 2. That's just how this goes. It's just a number game here. If there's an ankle that needs a week off. Last year, they were in a prime position. Unfortunately, it took them the final game, and luckily, not that I was afraid of a healthy New York Giants team by anyway, ran by Daniel Jones. I like Daboll, and I think they are trending in the right direction, and Saquon did have a bounce-back year. A healthy New York Giants team, though, wasn't scaring me if the Eagles needed to win a game to secure a spot last season in the playoffs. I just don't want it to get to that point again. You made it harder and more difficult than it needed to be. I don't think that that's a recipe for success year in and year out and year in and year out. So if you were to look at Marcus Mariota for 1 or 2 games throughout the entire season, can he provide what you're looking for from a backup quarterback? And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I wonder. I don't know the answer. I really don't know the answer. But as I talk through this, I wonder if Marcus Mariota is, one, better when playing with the first team. When you have the studs, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, let's say Swift is in the backfield, and then all the beefy dudes in the offensive line trenches, that goes a long way with success. Now, his accuracy is poor. Quite frankly, it sucks, and that's problematic. And you are a quarterback, and your job is to throw the football, so you do need to do that. In a game or two, depending who you're playing, though, I want to go back to last year's backup quarterback who we saw tonight, Gardner Minshew. He was really good against the Dallas Cowboys. He looked like one of the worst quarterbacks to ever live against the New Orleans Saints. That's the backup quarterback position, all right? If they were consistent, they'd be a starter. Can Mariota have a good game on a single night? I think it's possible. I don't think McKee is ready. That's a long-term project. That's way different. I don't know what other options there really are. You could do a lot worse. I don't know how much better you can do. Nick Foles isn't real. That whole thing that happened was a miracle. It was a dream. It was the perfect scenario that happened to play out in front of our eyes, and we can't make that the standard. The standard is what we're seeing, a very inconsistent quarterback. And let's be honest, all right, I love Nick Foles, and today's not the day to do this. He did not play very well against the Atlanta Falcons in the playoff game, okay? You have Jalen Mills, Julio Jones, the ball, should it have been caught, should it not have been caught? They did not score many points. Now, they blasted the Minnesota Vikings after a big-time interception, and the rest is history. I don't need to take you through it. I'm just saying, it wouldn't surprise me. I guess maybe, and there was a time a week ago or so that I was losing my cool. And I was screaming up the top of my lungs with Marcus Mariota. The last 7 days, I did a 180, and I'm feeling different about it because I'm wondering if I watched Gardner Minshew last year, and I only watched him play against the New Orleans Saints, and Marcus Mariota did not have a good camp whatsoever. I'm looking at last year at Minshew, and I saw him play good one game, and I saw him play awful one game. If I only base it off of one game, then I wouldn't know that the alternative was capable. Are we reacting that way with Mariota? Can he get under center and use his legs to get us some first downs and to work with the offense for one game and do well enough? I don't think it's impossible. I'm in a really tough spot with it. I don't know how to feel. But getting to the poll, no is leading the way at 62%. So do you have faith in Marcus Mariota to win one or two games if needed? No is winning currently at 62%. All right. So Chris is in the chat and says Mariota is going to be better than what we saw in the preseason. He can still play. Okay, so the first comment I see here is a positive note with him. And the same person comments as well and says that Devin Allen should be seriously considered. I know there's been a lot of talk about him maybe returning some kicks. It would be nice to have some juice in that area and in that department, but we will see. I don't really care about if they won or lost the game. I see that being brought up. They didn't win a preseason game. Oh, okay, I see this now. They mentioned last year's preseason record. I don't give one damn about preseason records. Oh, good for you, Baltimore, that they went on that streak. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's about what you got on your roster and figuring out what it's all about. So, yeah, I mean, really, that's what I saw today, and that's some of the things, big picture, too. I know I brought up McPherson, right? And the reason I brought him up is because he is now out. Let's look at the slot corner for just 1 second. Your slot corner in Avonte Maddox is a baller when he's available. What happens when he's not available? I want to make this clear. I'm an Avonte Maddox fan. I think he could play. I think he's phenomenal, especially in between a Darius Slay and a James Bradbury. There's something to this. Going back to last year, though, he started 8 games. He played a total of 9 games. The year before, he played 16. The year before that, he played 10. There have been some injuries with Avonte Maddox. Now that McPherson is out, that changes what you have with your depth chart. And last year, we saw a Josiah Scott. That didn't make me feel great. That's where the bigger blow is. And special teams definitely will be heavily discussed this season, right? This is where I don't know how to feel on the whole Sean Bradley McPherson thing. I know we're going back just a tad to something we hit on previously, but I wanted to note this. Injuries suck. It's always awful to watch somebody go down, especially someone and 2 people who log a lot of minutes in the special teams area. Special teams was bad with them playing a lot. I don't want them to get hurt. I want them to be on the field. I prefer someone who's been here, played with this team, been with this core, can maybe take a step with leadership with special teams. I want them there. I'm not saying it's good that they're not available because the special teams. I'm not saying that at all. I want to make that very, 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 very clear. I just don't know how to assess the special teams because some of the core pieces got hurt, but they weren't good as a core with them playing a lot. You know what I'm saying? So what do we do with that information? I don't have the answer. You know, look, I have a lot of answers. You know, I talk a lot, but sometimes I don't have it. And I'm just laying it out there for you to think and for you to maybe process something that you didn't process before. Is that fair? All right, that's fair. So, really the only other things I didn't touch on that is in my notes just in regards to the Eagles. McKee, I'm just really impressed with his entire preseason. He's a long-term project, but he escapes to his left. There's pressure. He throws a mini floater on the left side of the sidelines, and then you squeeze through, and you're able to secure a first down, and you move the chains. Not a mobile guy, obviously, not normally the thing that's in his repertoire, right? That's not the sexy move for McKee is moving his legs, but he's willing to trust his arm. And even against top guys on the other team, it wasn't their third stringers, okay? You look at some of the roster that was playing for Indianapolis. Here's McKee. What's that? I'll throw it, okay. And it's not as if he's got the best receivers in the world. As I mentioned, Ngannou's dropping a bit, fumble. Kennedy Brooks, he misses a wide open touchdown. His stat line could be a lot better than what it is. The stats won't tell the full story on McKee. And I'm sure everybody inside the NovaCare complex right now is thrilled with what he did over those final 3 games here of training camp before we get ready for September 10th when you see the Eagles take the field against the New England Patriots. All right, everybody, that's my show tonight. I hope you all enjoyed. I know I enjoyed it, and I can't appreciate all you enough for kicking me here on Bleacher Report. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your night, and go Birds!